Okay, so let's assume you've been successful getting the ointment into the ear in the first place. So now you've got ointment here, we're trying to work it through. So you usually will have a big puddle of ointment here, and we're trying to sort of massage it down, again like getting toothpaste out the tube or into the tube towards the eardrum. A lot of people I find will do this sort of thing, massage this bit, where they're only really touching the outer bit of the canal. The bit you want to grab is this cartilage tube. It feels like a little bit of nylon hose pipe, and it goes right in behind the jawline. So you should feel your fingers going all the way around and be able to touch them on the other side of the canal. So I've gone around the ear and right up against the skull, and I'll feel like there's a bit of hose pipe, and it hooks in behind the jaw here. So when I grab that, I get my fingers either side, and you will normally hear like a squelching noise if you're doing it properly. And again, if you're firm about this rather than poking at it, the dog will tolerate it better if you actually do it quite firmly and vigorously and rub it as you go rather than sort of a stabbing motion, and you're trying to work it into the inside. So feel that cartilage tube like a hose pipe and work down in behind the back of the jaw. So not up here, but right down the bottom, following it all the way in until you can't go any further into the back of the bone of the skull. That's where you want to be. And following on from my last how-to article on putting ointment in dogs and cats' ears, I'm going to review a couple of the more commonly used ear preparations. First thing I'd say is when it comes to ear cleaning or treatments, it's horses for courses. There are different products to do different jobs, so it will depend on what your objective is. Are you just trying to dry an ear out if a dog's been swimming, or you're trying to remove wax from inside the ear canal that's built up? You're trying to treat a specific infection or inflammation, or just calm down an ear and maybe, or even clean a little bit of foreign material out of it. Again, your choice will depend on where you want to go with that. The other thing that's really important to remember is that at the end of the day, the dog's ear canal is made of skin. So any problem that affects the skin quite frequently will also involve the ears as well. The common one we see is when people get hay fever, it often involves their eyes. When dogs get allergies and hay fever, very often it may only be in their ears, or it might be all over the place, and a failure to look at those other problems often is the reason why these problems keep coming back and coming back. You also have the added bonus that not only have you got an itchy, allergic, inflamed ear, but the ear canal in dog is longer, it's darker, it's fairly convoluted, there's not much getting in or out of it, it's very humid, it's a very good environment for bacteria growing. And dog's skin is actually thinner than humans. We don't have any hair, so the resistance is mostly in the thickness of the skin. That's our barrier layer. Dogs don't have that, they have hair, so the skin is actually quite thin. Very easy to upset that by putting the wrong thing down there, pulling hair out of ears. The barrier layers often get disrupted, and then you get bacteria and yeast taking over. It creates a bit of a vicious cycle of inflammation, and if you're not very careful, you could end up with an ear that looks a little bit like that, which is called a stenotic ear. Nothing's going to get in or out of that ear, and at that point you're definitely going to need veterinary help. Okay, so let's review a couple of the more commonly available ear cleaners in this country. First one, this is called Leo. It also goes under a name of Bayer ear cleaner or Milo's ear cleaner, and it's a mild alcohol base. It's got boracic acid, menthol, chlorothiamol. The idea being those alcohols are very good at drying the ear, removing excess wax, and have a slight antibacterial effect. So if you have a dog that swims a lot, Spaniel or a Labrador, just wanting to dry the ear, that would be a good choice. Maybe not such a good choice if you have a sore, red, inflamed ear, a bit like putting methylated spirit on a cut, it will sting. Dog won't like it. Next one, this is often goes under the name of epiotic or dermotic. It's a combination of organic acids and salicylic acid. Idea being it will maintain a more acid pH, which will be less fatal for bacteria. And sometimes those salicylic acids are good at removing a lot of dead scurf and skin material from the ear. So if you have an ear that's producing a lot of debris in there, it may help to break it down. My main issue with it is being very acidic. It will sting a really sore ear. It has a fairly sour smell, which many people are not too keen on. And being a water-based product, not really very good at removing some of the waxes and oils, so not my first choice. For most people, I think that is a good all-rounder. It is called Core Ear Cleaner. It contains orange oil, a milk protein, and also oatmeal, so they're all fairly soothing ingredients. Will remove the oil. Hopefully the oatmeal will improve the inflammatory responses on the skin. It's something we often use for calming dermatitis, and a good all-round product. Doesn't seem to sting. The only times I probably would be careful with any of these is if there is any doubt about whether an eardrum may be ruptured or not. If you're not sure, get the vet to check it before you put any cleaner down the ear. Now, there are a few other things. Sometimes you may be caught on a weekend where you don't have access to a vet or an ear cleaner. So a couple of first aid options: a little bit of warmed up olive oil, quite safe to use down the ear. It will remove some of the excess wax, or if you have an insect or a bit of a grass seed that might have floated into the ear, that's quite a safe option you can use to help get it out until you can get some professional attention. The other one I'm a big fan of, this is Manuka honey, also called Medi honey or active honey. We use this for burns, for abscesses, for ear treatments, and the reason we like it so much, it's very active against a bacteria called Pseudomonas. And if you have a dog that's had a long-standing ear infection and been on a lot of antibiotics, the Pseudomonas is usually the last man standing. It's a bit of a resistant bacteria, quite hard to kill, and a lot of the antibiotics needed to kill it can themselves be dangerous to use around a damaged eardrum. Manuka honey kills the Pseudomonas. It doesn't sting. It has a slight pulsing effect, so it will draw a lot of muck out through the eardrum, and it's fairly safe to use. The only problem is it can be a bit hard to get into the ear, so we usually put it in via a syringe. But if you have a sore, red, inflamed ear, some of that, it's a good first aid you can put in the ear. Won't do any harm with it until the vet can check it. Now, I did mention earlier that many ear problems are connected to overall skin allergies. So anything you can do to improve the integrity of the skin may well help the ear. So to that end, this is a stuff called Dermescent Essential 6. It looks a lot like a flea spot on, the ones you put on the back of the neck. It has a couple of essential fatty acids, omega-6s, and also some essential oils which have antibacterial and anti-inflammatory and deodorizing effects. The idea, if you put it on the skin, it will help with the lining down the ear canal. The other way we can help is someone putting some supplements into the diet, as the omega-3s in particular, whether it's fish oil or flax oil, linseed oil, so on. They have been proven to calm down some of the inflammatory responses in the skin, and as a consequence of that also in the ear, so they may well help indirectly. And lastly, some of these low allergy diets, these have the added bonus, not only are they high in the omega-3 fish oils, but they are hypoallergenic, and certainly a percentage of dogs with food-related allergies get skin problems and may well have ear problems. So it's always worth trying a low allergy diet for at least a month to see whether maybe it will help with the skin. So there's a couple of things you can do at home. Again, if you're not sure, get your vet to check. But I hope you've enjoyed it.